And then we are ready whenever you are.
You're on mute.
Thank you very much for that, Nathan. So welcome everyone to our session today. I'm very excited on behalf of Invest Atlanta. My name is Dr. Eloisa Clementich, and I have the honor and privilege of being the CEO at Invest Atlanta. And I'm very excited about the opportunity to share with you some of the programs that we have available to you. So before I actually start, let me just run through a couple important points. The first is I will keep my remarks to about 30 minutes and allow 30 minutes for Q&A, for question and answers. If for some reason your question does not get answered, I'll also put other ways you can communicate with Invest Atlanta. I'd also like to inform you that on August 12th at 6 p.m., we will have another session. So there will probably be about another 3 to 4 sessions available. So if you're not able to stay on the entire time, you can either come back and access our website and catch us on the website link, or you can join another session. All right, let's get started. So again, we are excited to be here on behalf of the entire Invest Atlanta team, and I do want to recognize all the hard work from everyone on Invest Atlanta for everything they have done. So Matt for his leadership on marketing, and Nathan for everything on the program, and all of our departments for everything you're doing to support this program. So when this pandemic began in March, I want to also recognize the Atlanta City Council and our Mayor, Keisha Lance Bottom, for their dedication to small businesses in the city. They quickly reacted and provided a $1.5 million allocation to the city of Atlanta, to Invest Atlanta. We then, in record time, I've been at Invest Atlanta for 8 years. I have never seen us be able to deploy $1.5 million, create the program, get applications, and deploy in 3 months. I'm proud to report that we dispersed all of those funds. 59 businesses received those funds, of which 70% were minority and or women-owned businesses. But why are we here today? Next slide. So thanks to the federal government, we've received an allocation through the CARES Act. And that allocation came to the city of Atlanta directly, and it was for $88 million. The city council and the mayor's office and the mayor made the decision to be able to provide those funds to different agencies and different services throughout the city, from affordable housing to first responders. What we received here at Invest Atlanta, and again, would like to really thank the city council for their vision here, and the mayor for her dedication to small businesses, we received $22 million in total to be able to support Atlanta's small businesses. These funds, again, come from the Department of Treasury. And in the guidelines that we are going to go over right now, it really is us following the guidance that we've received from the Department of Treasury so that we can disperse the funds in the manner that they have asked us to, and to the businesses that they are requiring. So with that, let's jump right in. So the Resurgence Fund. What is the Resurgence Fund? What is the purpose of the fund? The fund is to help address some of the negative economic impact and measures that will need to occur for us to address COVID-19 moving forward. And again, I want to be very, very clear that this reimbursable grant is for businesses to help them address and move forward in this COVID environment. What does that mean? That means if a business were to buy plexiglass, that could be reimbursed. If a business were able to need to move, let's say it's a restaurant, and they need to physically move their booth so that it can comply with the 6 feet social distancing, this could be covered. If it's a business that has to buy PPE for their staff, for their customers, those expenses can be covered by this grant. All right, how much is the grant, you may ask? The grant total is $50,000 to every qualified businesses that is scored and ranked. So let me just break that down for just a second. The $50,000 in reimbursable grant really comes in 2 forms. The first is you will receive a $40,000, those businesses that get awarded will receive $40,000 in a reimbursable grant. And that can be used for any of the items that we just talked about, with the thought of what do they need to prepare for post-COVID? What do they need to acquire? What do they need to change? How do they need to pursue their business so that they could do business in post-COVID? The second component of that business, of this grant, is for technical assistance. Our thinking here is each of your businesses understand what the needs are for your business to be successful. So you may need some technical assistance with, maybe your website needs to be changed because now you're moving more of your business online. Maybe you need legal services to help you create a disclosure statement. Maybe you need support on just changing your entire business model as a result of COVID and moving forward. Or maybe you need support in some of your financial measures and your mechanisms to try to help you be able to deal with moving forward in this COVID environment. So here in the technical assistance piece, we will provide all of those businesses that are awarded an Invest Atlanta bundle, and that is for $2,500. And you can decide to put all of those bundles, so you get 4 bundles, in one technical assistance provider or in 4. It's up to you, wherever the business needs the most help. The intention of the technical assistance is to really provide the business with the technical support around them, and then the funds for the things that they need to prepare for post-COVID so they can be the most successful in our city. Now, I will note that the max amount of the reimbursable grant is $40,000. So if a business comes to us and says, Eloisa, we really don't need the $10,000 in technical assistance, can we up our reimbursable grant to $50,000? The answer is no. The maximum amount that will be available to you on reimbursable grants is $40,000, and then $10,000 for technical assistance. Okay. So the next question, you may say, well, what makes us eligible? Well, I'm not understanding what I need to do to be able to apply. I'd say there's 4 basic eligibility requirements. The first is you have to be a City of Atlanta business with the current City of Atlanta business license. You have to have been operating in the city as of March 1, 2019, have less than 250 employees, and you have to demonstrate that there is a business interruption as a result of COVID-19. I will mention that there are more in-depth program overview and program frequently asked questions on our website, and please take a look. And there's a list of ineligible businesses, and this is important for you to take a look at. Let me give you some highlights. We have followed the SBA guidelines on what type of businesses are ineligible. But should you be a casino, or should you be a business in the adult industry, not eligible? Or should you be a City of Atlanta employee with the business or an Invest Atlanta member with the business, you are also not eligible. So for that complete list, I'd ask you to visit our website. That gives you a sense of what type of businesses are eligible. All right, let's go to the good thing. Okay, what are the application requirements? The application requirements are really 9 things that a business will have to upload. And I will let you know that our application is online. All of this you can put online. So they'll make it as easy as possible for you. We need 9 items. And people will ask me, Elisa, but how do I begin to prepare? Because applications don't open until Monday, August 10th. This is how you can start getting ready for your application. Gather this information. It will save you time in the long run. First is you have to have a driver's license or another government issued ID. Second, you need to provide payroll documentation for the final February 2020 payroll. Reimbursable itemized receipts, should you have those. If you do not have those, don't worry. If you are awarded, you will get a pre-award letter, and then you have time to provide the receipts later. The second is we will need your 2020 City of Atlanta business license. Now, we understand that there is a delay in receiving business licenses. If you have not received your business license, this is what we're going to ask you to upload. Can you please upload your 2019 City of Atlanta business license and proof of payment for your 2020? That will be enough. The fifth thing we're asking for is your 2020 Secretary of State registration. That's going to be key. And then your 2019 and year-to-date June 30th, 2020 profit and loss statements, your 2018 and 2019 business tax returns. I'm not looking for the entire book of 60 to 70 pages, but if you can upload the first 2 pages of each of those 2 documents is what we're looking for. And then your SAVE affidavit. Now, I have been getting several questions around the SAVE affidavit. I'd like to highlight that the SAVE affidavit is a requirement per the state of Georgia. We need to have your SAVE affidavit. Now, I understand that there may be a situation where the business owner is in quarantine for whatever reason. If that's the case, we have provided a link on our website that shows you those those notaries that can do it virtually. So again, we really tried to make it as easy as possible. And lastly, we're going to ask you for your W-9s. If you don't have access to your W-9, we've also provided in the application a link to where you could pull your W-9 form and fill it in and then just upload that. So basically, those are the 9 items that we are requiring you to upload. But I did want to highlight the last 3. These are not items you have to upload, but I wanted to make sure to highlight them so that you would know what is needed in part of the requirements of this application. The first is that you would provide within 1 year, a compliance report. So let me tell you, this compliance report is not onerous. It really is with the intention to understand where is the business a year later after the grant was made. So we ask questions like, how is the business doing? Where are your revenue? Have you been able to hire more employees? So again, let me just highlight, it's not onerous, but it really allows us to hopefully see the success of the business as a result of this grant and it being successful in our city. The second thing we're asking for is for you as the business to perform 15 hours of community service within a year. That's about 1 hour a month. And that community service can be with any nonprofit in the city of Atlanta. Here, these are CARES Act dollars that provided to the city of Atlanta. And we think it would be great if these businesses or those that are awarded can contribute some time to supporting the city of Atlanta residents. And again, we leave it completely open to you. As long as they're a nonprofit in the city, you can, or your employees can volunteer. And the last thing is a commitment, your best effort as a business to maintain the employees that you have. And again, our goal at Invest Atlanta is try to help to stimulate jobs and investment in the city. And those are the requirements, 9 basic requirements and 3 commitments. All right, next one. So what are the different application sections? And I want to just highlight the 3 of them. The first is Section A. We're going to ask you eligibility questions. These are 15 questions. They are yes, no. You just check the box yes, no. So here, for example, are you a minority business? Are you a business that is involved? Are you a nonprofit? We specifically are asking you eligibility. And the idea here is we want to ensure that you're eligible for this grant so that if you're not having to fill out the whole grant and find out at the end. So really just checks all the way through. The second section is the contact information. Here we're going to ask you basic information about your business. What is your business? What is your address? How many employees? How were you impacted? So here it's very specific. Again, nothing I think that you would not be able to fill out once you sat down to fill out your application. The third section is business information. Here is about 20 questions. And here we ask for more specific information about how many employees do you have, just what, and 2 specific descriptions, and you can begin to get ready for these. The first is we're going to ask you, how was your business impacted due to COVID? So here, I understand there's a lot of things on your plate, but please take the moment to sell your story, because people will be reviewing this and really making decisions, because we want to get these funds to businesses that have been impacted by COVID. So I would expect to read comments like, our business has seen a decrease in sales of about 20-30%. We have had to revamp or we've had to lay off some part of staff, or we've had to make adjustments, we've pivoted, we're refocusing. Whatever it is that you've done and how you've impacted, please take the time to express that and state that here. That will be very important in the evaluation of your application. The second thing is that we're going to ask you is, how did your business plan to reopen? And this will be very important. What are you planning to do to reopen and be successful? So please take the time for you to think that through. That's probably about the 2 sections of 2 questions where you may have to spend more time and thinking that through. And please make sure you tell your story. This will be very important for reviewers. So let's assume that you were able to get all of the 9 items that I just read off to you that you have to have in your application requirements. You get through these questions. We estimate that if you're able to do all of that in one sitting, it's going to take you about an hour and a half to fill out this application. So again, if you have everything available, but if you, for example, are able to come in and start your application and then need to leave, there is a way for you to save your application and come back to it and revisit it later. So you do not have to fill out the entire application in one sitting. So this is also something that we have been able to speak to our provider about. I do want to emphasize, and please ask you, if you start your application on August 10th, please complete it by August 31st. We have been seeing on 2 other programs that many individuals are starting the application and not finishing it. Please finish. Once you finish the application, you will receive an email from Neighborly, who is our provider, that says your application has been submitted and here is your number. That's how you will know that your application has been submitted. I will note on the application, we will also have a link to a customer service survey. We would love for you to tell us, what was the process? Did we fulfill, were we accessible? Were we helpful to you? That is going to be important for us. And I just ask you to please take a quick moment to fill that out. It's completely optional, has no impact on the review if you answer or not, but it would be helpful for us to understand. It's a very quick 6 to 7 questions to get you through. Okay? All right. So you get this email. So let me run through important dates. We are starting now this week with running through many webinars and live streams. And again, I mentioned our next one is August 12th. So if you need to recapture us there. Then we will open the applications August 10th at 8 a.m. We will close the applications on August 31st at 5 p.m. So it's in that time period you are able to continue to submit items for your application. So if you submit an application August 10th, you should plan, you will not probably hear from us if your application's perfect until about August 5th when we will announce who the awardees are. If there's any issues or questions we have, we will contact you via email. So it's imperative that you not only put an email that you will check very often, but that it's an email that makes sense that we can contact you at. So please, 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 I cannot emphasize that the way we will communicate with you is through email. So please make sure you are monitoring your emails and we will ask you any questions. If you are awarded, we will ask that all the receipts, because remember, this is a reimbursable grant, have to be submitted from November 1st. So you have until March, any receipts from March 1st to November 1st. The U.S. Department of Treasury has indicated to us that this program needs to conclude by December 31st. So what you'll see is all of the receipts and all your technical assistance needs to be completed by December 31st. Okay? All right, those are some of our key important dates. So let me just put some things you need to remember. First, if you could please, please, please remember that the business name should be the same business name as is found on the Secretary of State. Please make sure that those can coincide. That will help us. I highlight again that this program, per Department of Treasury, is a reimbursable grant. This means we will provide you an award, and then you're going to have to provide us with the back-end receipts. What is a receipt? A receipt is anything that you buy, let's say at Home Depot, or you go somewhere and it has to tie into COVID. So I will need a couple things, or we will need a couple things. One, it has to be itemized. You know, when you go to a store, sometimes they give you the itemized receipt or have you sign the credit card receipt. We need the itemized. We need to be able to show that you went and bought plexiglass or you bought PPE for your staff. Whatever it is, we are asking you to please copy that receipt and write a short description on the side of the receipt so we know what you spent those dollars on. Second, you can turn in any receipts from March 1st of this year to November 1st of 2020. Second, third, and lastly, invoices, estimates, proposals are not receipts. If you have an estimate or an invoice, that's good because that will give you a sense of how much you need or how many funds are you're going to apply for, but it won't be able to be used for your reimbursable receipts. So let me just talk about that one more time. If you apply, or I should say, when you apply, if you have receipts, so let's say you've already made that expense and you've bought all the PPP and you've changed your restaurant or you did anything you need to get ready for post-COVID, you could submit those receipts and your application, if awarded and chosen, will streamline much quicker. It'll go straight to pay. So we would send that check to you. If you haven't made those expenses, and let's just say you have an invoice or you have an estimate or you have a proposal, no problem. That will be important for you because we do ask that question, how much are you applying for? Is what we'll do is we will issue you a pre-award letter. So at least you know you've been awarded up to 10,000, 20,000, 30, 40,000, the max. In that case, then you could go make the expense. And then once you have your receipt, you can submit your receipts. Okay. The next thing I'd like to tell you is if at all possible, I'm sorry, I'm still there we go. If at all possible, could you please upload your file? So all of those other requirements that we listed with the name of the document, it would make Invest Atlanta's life and our reviewers much, much easier. So let me give you an example. If you're uploading the Save Affidavit file, if you, for example, scanned your Save Affidavit and let's just assume you have a Canon 500, I don't even know if that exists, but let's just assume you have Canon, it will say uploaded image Canon 500 document 1. If you by any, not required, but if you could save that file as save affidavit or P&L 2020 or license, driver's license, that just makes our life much easier and we'd really appreciate it. Not required, but we'd love your help if you could do that. The last thing I'd like to emphasize is that before you upload any documents, please redact any personal or confidential information. We don't need that and you don't need to send that. So I would just ask, again, you copy your driver's license, you can, once, obviously we'll need that for the save affidavit with the notary, but once it's done, you can cross out that number and upload that back up. Okay. All right, let's continue then. I'd like to highlight, we're going to get into more questions and answers at the end of the session, and I have a stellar team which will help us address some of those questions. But let's keep going because I went a little bit longer. I apologize. There's a second program that's going to be opening, and that's Strength and Beauty. And this program, next slide, focuses on the grant purpose. The grant purpose really is for those that are in the cosmetology industry who have suffered a loss of business due to COVID-19. This is really important because what we recognize is that it's been very difficult for those that are either, doing our nails or cutting our hair. It's hard for them to social distance. So what is this? This grant in particular is really directed to individuals, anyone who has a license, and it's for $1,000. And this will be a grant directly to the individual. This one is not reimbursable. This one is to an individual. What are the eligibility requirements? There are basically 5 eligibility requirements. You have to be a resident or employed in the city of Atlanta. You have to have a current license, and there is the list there of all the licenses you can have in the state of Georgia. You have to be able to show the impact as a result of COVID, and you need to demonstrate a financial need, a monetary need. What is required? Application requirements. Basically 6 items are needed, and they're listed here. That save affidavit, your driver's license, proof of residency, verification income, proof that you are in the cosmetology work, and your license. This timeline is right on the same as the Resurgence. Again, applications open August 10th at 8 a.m., close August 31st at 5 p.m., with announcements made the week of October 5th. So let me just highlight again some of the things that we have to really remember for both Resurgence and Strength and Beauty. Resurgence is a reimbursable grant, as is provided by the guidance by Department of Treasury. It is to reimburse you for you as a business for any cost incurred to be able to do business post-COVID. And we will provide the exact list so you can see some of the costs or some of the things that we will be able to reimburse you for. Strength and Beauty goes directly to the individual. It's a $1,000 grant for those within the cosmetology industry. And please, if you know anyone, please apply. All right, so how do you get a hold of us? There are several ways you can get a hold of us here at Invest Atlanta. First, you could go to our website and there's detailed information there. You can get this webinar, you can get other information, or you can get other webinars, whatever you like, you can find there. We've also established a customer service hotline, and it's listed there, the phone number. I will inform you that typically that hotline is open from 8:30 to 5 p.m. at Invest Atlanta during the week. But what we've done is we've brought on some Invest Atlanta team members to be available on that hotline on August 29th, Saturday, and Sunday, August 30th from 9 to 5. We just want to be as accessible as possible because we figured many of you may have some questions before the August 31st deadline, and we want to make ourselves available to you should you have any questions. So you've got the main Invest Atlanta website, you have the customer service hotline, And the third way you could get a hold of us is through the email address. You can send us any email with any questions you have. So if you are asking us a question about Resurgence, you have the resurgence@investatlanta.com email. If you're asking us about any questions regarding the strength and beauty, it's at cosmetologyrelief@investatlanta.com. As I mentioned at the beginning of the session, our next session is August 12th at 6 p.m. You're welcome to join and RSVP for that one as well. And we will have several others, and there's a list on our website. So I don't want to take time to mention all of them, but there are more seminars. Before we take questions, let me again thank the Atlanta City Council and our Mayor, Keisha Lance Bottoms, for her support of businesses. I say that, and I want to make sure if you see any of them, you tell them how excited you are about this program. They received $88 million. They decided which areas to focus on. And in the history that I've been at Invest Atlanta, I have never seen an allocation of $22 million to small business. I think that really shows us where their priorities are. And I think that's great that they have provided those funds to Invest Atlanta. So with that, I would open it up to my colleagues that are going to help to facilitate our question and answer period. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Eloisa, for that very, very helpful presentation. We've got a number of questions here that we're going to go through and hopefully get through them before the end of the webinar this evening. As Eloisa mentioned, if we aren't able to get to all questions, there are other ways to reach us, as she indicated on the slides, by phone, by email, and other means too. So let's go ahead and get started. Eloisa, there's been several questions about eligibility of nonprofits. I think it would be helpful if you could clarify to folks whether or not nonprofits are eligible.
Yes, for this particular program, nonprofits are not eligible. With that said, though, I'd please like to highlight that the Community Foundation has been focusing very much on nonprofits and has awarded above $15 million to Atlanta nonprofits. So there are other sources out there. I'd also refer you to our website. We have a website that's specifically for CARES Act, where it's other providers that are providing support to nonprofits and to even businesses. So please find a resource. We want to be as helpful as possible. Nathan, would you like to add anything to that?
Yes, sorry, I was busy answering a question, and there are a lot of really good questions. So yeah, I'm trying to answer as many questions in the chat. So if you do have questions, you're welcome to put them there. And of course, I would just direct any question you have. We have taken a lot of time to really think about the whole world of questions that people might have. And we've really done a really good job of putting an FAQ, a frequently asked questions, up on our website. Anything that you want to know about this program will be included at the Resurgence website on investatlanta.com. So anything you might have, you can find any of those questions. We have customer service people ready to also answer those questions. You can email us, call us, or chat. We have a chat bot. So there are many ways to plug in, but all of your questions could be answered at investatlanta.com. Hope that's helpful.
Thanks, Nathan. I'm looking here at the questions, and I see a number of questions about whether or not the Resurgent grant funds can be used to cover payroll costs.
That's a good question. No, the way the Department of Treasury has provided us and the guidance we've received is no, it cannot be used for payroll or loss of revenue. It needs to be for items that the business needs to acquire to be able to operate post-COVID.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of questions about that. And so, I've had a lot of people say, well, I have 1099 employees or I have contractors. You as the business owner are applying for a reimbursable grant for your business. So something you have done for your business. The only mention of employees that we have is about the 250 or less threshold. So I hope that answers some questions about contractors' 1099s.
Yeah. And maybe it would be helpful if I provide just a little more examples. So let's say a business has had to move or downsize as a result of less customers, or they've had to pivot to only online sales. That those costs incurred, the additional costs in terms of moving, that could be covered, but not employees. Or let's say a business, we were thinking of maybe a flower shop that's now doing the majority of their business online, is now going to need to deliver those flowers. So if you bought a vehicle that had refrigeration, that is specifically to help you now because you're now moving to a new business model, which is you're going to deliver yourself, that could potentially be covered as well.
Thanks for that, Eloisa. I've seen a couple questions out there about whether or not home-based businesses or direct selling businesses are eligible for the Resurgence program.
So as Nathan is on other, I think he did a great job on this response, is yes, they are, but you have to meet your eligibility requirements. So if you have a business license from the city of Atlanta, if you've been in operation since March 1st, 2019, then yes, you are eligible to apply. So make sure you follow all the other guidelines. The fact that you're a home base does not make you ineligible. As long as all the other eligibility are covered, you are eligible.
Terrific. Also seeing some questions about minority-owned business status, and one in particular, are these funds only for minority-owned small businesses?
No, these businesses are for all, these funds, and this reimbursable grant is available to all businesses in the city of Atlanta.
Great. Another one here is, how does this apply to a multi-unit business? There's no description of what a multi-unit business is, but if you want to talk about maybe some scenarios of a multiple location business in the city of Atlanta, that might help answer the question.
Yes, so so we're going to make some assumptions here. If your business, if you are registered at the Secretary of State as one business, but you have two locations, as long as you meet the eligibility requirements, there is no problem for you to be able to apply for this grant. So it doesn't prohibit you because you have multiple locations, but it will only be one grant per business as registered as a Secretary of State. Now, if you own several businesses in the city that have several Secretary of State registrations, and you can apply for each one of those businesses, if that makes sense.
Okay. Next one, what if you did not start payroll until after February 2020?
So have you been in business since March 1st, 2019? So what was the date again, Matt?
February 2020.
Yeah, so Eloise, I'll take a stab at this one.
Okay,
You have
thank
to,
you, Nathan.
sorry, you would have to meet all the requirements. So you have to have a City of Atlanta business license, and you will have to have been in business before as of March 1st of 2019 to qualify. So if you weren't making payroll, but you meet all the other requirements, I shouldn't see an issue with that if you have some reimbursable expenses.
Terrific. Thanks for that, Nathan. There's been a few questions about the receipts and specifically when those expenses have to be incurred to make them eligible for reimbursement.
All expenses need to be incurred from March 1st, 2020 to November 1st, 2020.
Okay, thank you. Another question here, and there's been several about tax return status and things of that nature, but this one in particular is, my corporate tax return for 2019 is extended until September 16th.
Then just, if you could upload your extension, you're fine.
Terrific.
If you could just upload approval of your extension or some sort of notice from the federal government or the IRS that you have been extended, no problem, we understand.
Great. And the answer to this may be similar to the home-based businesses answer, but this particular question is, if I'm the only one in my company and don't have a payroll to submit, can I still apply for this grant?
As long as you meet all the other eligibility criteria, yes, you can. But I would make sure you submit, because that one may be a required field. So I would submit that you have no employees or something so that it indicates to the reviewer.
Terrific. Another question here, do we have to have experienced losses due to COVID-19 in order to qualify?
Yes, so you have to show that there is a loss or that you've been adversely impacted as a result of COVID-19. Yes.
Thanks for that. Another question here is, and this applies to the Resurgence program, what if I only need the technical assistance part of the grant? In other words, would I be eligible to participate?
Yes, of course. If you are, and we imagine that some smaller businesses maybe don't have much funds to get reimbursed, but please apply for the technical assistance. As long as you can explain to us what it is that you'll be doing to pivot your work, your business plan, or you need help, some legal support or website support. Yes, we want to make sure that you're applying.
Terrific. Another question here, are charter schools eligible to participate?
No, I think that they're the way they are. They're a nonprofit. I'm not sure you have. I'm not quite sure. I'm going to throw a question back at the charter school. Are you a register? Do you have a City of Atlanta business license, and do you comply with all of the other eligibility requirements? If so, then I would say yes. If I don't know charter school, so I'm going to have to, whoever that was, we'll have to take that one offline.
We'll note that for sure. There's another question here, and perhaps it would be helpful just to explain this a little bit. The question is, what is a save affidavit? I'm not sure that that is a common term for all people or all business people out there. Could you just explain in general terms what the save affidavit does and how a business might be able to obtain one given that we're in a different situation right now?
Of course. The save affidavit, and Nathan, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the save affidavit verifies that, one, you are who you say you are, but two, that you are legally able to work here in the state of Georgia in the United States. And so that's basically what it verifies. It does require, Nathan, did I get that piece right?
Yes, you did. Go ahead.
It does. It also does require that document be notarized. And so we recognize that maybe getting to a notary may be difficult. So again, there are notaries that will allow to do it virtually. And so we've provided a link for you to access that as well. Or you could actually go to your bank as well. Your bank can notarize for you as well. So we provided all those options. What we also provided was a copy of the form as the state of Georgia has provided to us. So you could literally download that form right from the website in the application. Again, the thought here is to make it as easy as possible. I have to tell you, it's a requirement by the state of Georgia that we have a save affidavit. So we are just trying to make sure that we're in compliance with all the requirements.
And just one additional point to that, I saw a couple of questions about this is we have on our application, you will find an example of every document that we're asking you to submit. We have a save affidavit template on our website that you can use, that you should use to make sure that that's notarized and uploaded to the application. So anything that you're unsure about, we are trying to put pictures of what we think receipts should look like, our save affidavit, so you'll have guidance on our application, so you'll see what we're asking for.
Terrific. Another question here, I'm paraphrasing, but the question states or asks, if I'm interested in purchasing equipment or need to purchase equipment in order to pivot my business, not necessarily, I think it implies not necessarily personal protective equipment, but if I need to, do something different in the way I operate, change my model, what have you, am I eligible for the program?
Yes, and this is where your description is Very, very important. You are the expert in your line of work, not us. So you need to tell us that I am now pivoting from doing X to Y, and this new focus requires me to buy this equipment as a result of COVID. So if you can help us tie that link, it would be eligible. But again, please, please, we're not magicians. I can't read your mind. I need you to express that in the application, and just keep a keen eye out there that I may not be the only one reviewing it. May have the federal government coming on our back end as well as checking that. So let's just make sure it's very clear and tight as to why you need to purchase this new equipment, how it is to help you pivot to COVID, and what it will allow you to do. If you can do that, then it should not be a problem, but we are going to rely on that explanation.
Great. This question here involves the technical assistance part of the Resurgence grant program.
Yes.
And I think maybe just sort of clarifying how the bundles work and the total amount available. It says, if we use more than $10,000 for technical assistance, is it okay that only $10,000 can be allocated for $10,000 of can be allocated for technical assistance?
Yet the max, so the reimbursable grant, the max amount for the cash part is 40,000. The max for technical assistance is 10,000. So we will only reimburse the technical service providers up to $10,000 per business. So, and the way we're structuring is, remember, you get 4 Invest Atlanta bundles. Each one is worth $2,500. You can decide to invest all in one technical assistance provider, or you could split it out to 2 technical assistance providers or 3. It really is completely up to you where you need most of the help. Now, I will tell you that after Invest Atlanta is done and we've paid for the $10,000, if you want a relationship with one of them after, that would be completely up to you, but it'd be your responsibility as a business for any additional services.
And if you don't mind, Matt, if I hop in here, we had a really good question about there's a manufacturer with an assembly company in the city who had to purchase conveyors to allow for proper distancing between each employee. They asked if this type of expense will be covered. And yes, that's a perfect example. And we had an earlier call today where we had someone who had a yoga studio. And so the question was, you know, if they have to put plexiglass in between the yoga participants, or if they needed to expand their space out into the back, or if they needed to go online, any of these items would be considered eligible under the reimbursable part of this. And more importantly, I think it's really critical to notice that the $10,000 worth of technical assistance you have here is so valuable. You have an opportunity to work with a whole host of service providers who can help you pivot your business in the way that you need it.
And I just want to underline what Nathan said, because he hit it right on. Please, please, it really depends on the description. If you tell us we're buying these conveyors for social, 6 feet social distancing, that is completely in alignment with COVID. So really, we're going to rely on you, and I know I've said this, as the experts, to tell us why this equipment or this purchase makes sense.
Terrific. And this question here is maybe just a follow-up to that, or maybe there's a little bit more clarification. And probably it involves a little bit of explanation of our application process, but it says, what do you recommend to applicants to show how we lost due to COVID?
I would say, and Nathan, you can add on, I would say your revenue impact. Where is your revenue and how much have you lost? Has this impacted your employees in any way? Have you had to make any physical changes to your facility or your business as a result of, and that's costing you? Have you had a loss in inventory? Have you lost in inventory because maybe you weren't able to sell some of your products? So those are the type of things I'm looking for. I think those would be very strong for your business. Nathan, did I miss any?
Yeah, no, I mean, you're exactly right on that. These are federal dollars, and so there are pretty strict guidelines about how you can use them. But yes, you should be thinking in that way, right? So we all know that we had a mandatory shutdown, and so what expenses have you incurred to reopen? What expenses will you need to incur to make sure that your business is now operating in a COVID safe environment? And those types of expenses are exactly what you should be looking at as you apply for this program.
Terrific. Another question here. If your business was not profitable before March 2020, but has been licensed for 2 years, can I apply for the grant?
Yep. Assuming you're eligible through all the other eligibility. Yeah, we're not looking at whether you are profitable and just to apply or not. That's not something that would disqualify you.
Question here involves the timeline and when applications open. It says that applications are currently closed. Is there a way to apply now?
No, you can, but let me say, applications open August 10th at 8 a.m. and close August 31st at 5 p.m. But what can you be doing now? You have the list of requirements of documents. Start gathering all your documents. So when the application becomes available, you could really just upload them very quickly, because that's what we're noticing is that we're losing people. They're coming in and applying, and then they have other documents they have to get, and then life got in the way and they didn't finish their application. So that's how you can start now, is gather all of those documents so that you can quickly respond and submit your application. And there's the list. That's what you could be working on right now. Thank you, Lexi.
Terrific.
Yeah, and just I would say about this list, during our business continuity loan fund program, some of the advice I was giving out is that, really it's just to your benefit to be completely organized. This probably won't be the last program that's launched at a local, state, or federal level. And so having some of these items ready to go, saved on your desktop, so that when you're applying, you can just upload those quickly and move through the application quickly would be a big help.
Terrific. Another question here is, when will the grant have to be repaid? It doesn't say whether that's Resurgence or Strength and Beauty, but I guess we could probably knock those two out with one answer.
It's a grant, so they do not have to be repaid. Now, I will tell you it's a reimbursable grant, so you're going to have to provide us with receipt. But once you provide us with the receipt, you provide us with the justification, they will not have to be paid back.
Thanks for that. Another question here, it's a bit long. I'll try to get through it clearly. The question is, should businesses plan to finish all their technical assistance work with an approved provider by the November 1st receipt submission deadline, or can that work continue through the December 31st end date? Wow, this person was paying attention. Also, do you have to pay for the technical assistance work and then be reimbursed, or can those be taken care of in advance?
Oh, that's a good question. I'll write that in my notes to make sure to highlight that. The way the technical assistance will work, you do not have to pay for that funding up front. What we'll do is you get these Invest Atlanta bundles and you tell us where you want your bundles, and then we will reimburse the service provider in the back end. So no outlay of funds for the technical assistance provider. And to your second question, yes, we're asking for all of the technical assistance to be gone through and secured by November 1st. And just to provide some background, why November 1st? Because the program ends December 31st. And here in the city of Atlanta, we don't want $1 to go back to the Department of Treasury. So that November 1st deadline will allow us to check our balance and ensure that we've dispersed all those funds. And in the case that there is some savings somewhere, or someone got pre-approved and didn't use all the funds, then we're able to get to another business in the city of Atlanta. So that is just so you know what we're doing on the back end. That's what we want to do. Why? Because if we don't spend all the funds by December 30th, they will take the money back. And we don't want $1 to go back to the Department of Treasury.
Thanks for that. A lot of good information there. Staying on the topic of technical assistance for a minute, does technical assistance have to be spent with Invest Atlanta certified contractors or existing relationships we have?
It has to be done with certified contractors and Invest Atlanta. So again, since these are Department of Treasury grant dollars that we're receiving, we had to go through an RFQ process in terms of how we acquire each of those. And so it just guidelines as per Department of Treasury on how we provide that service to you. So yes, it has to be providers at Invest Atlanta.
Great, thanks for that. Another question here is, what if our employees are out of state? I think the assumption may be that it's a licensed city business that has employees, maybe some or all employees out of state.
Not a problem, as long as, again, you meet all of the eligibility requirements, you can apply.
Yeah, and so I see a lot of questions about employees, personnel, and so I would just reiterate that you as the business owner are applying for this grant program for expenses you've incurred that are not personnel related. So if you have 1099s or if you have employees out of state, or as long as you don't have more than 250 employees, then you're qualifying if you meet all the program guidelines and the reimbursable portion of the receipts. I hope that helps.
Terrific. We are unfortunately getting up against our end time here, but let's take as many as we can, a couple more here. And then, as you mentioned before, Eloisa and Nathan, there are resources available, phone number, website, email, chat, etc. Information is posted on our website where people can submit their questions and get assistance. Next question is, I think what they're asking is, are you qualified only if your business was closed during the COVID-19 crisis?
No.
What if I filed for an extension for my 2019 federal taxes?
Not a problem. Can you just upload the approval that the IRS sent you approving the extension, or send us the file or somehow confirming that you've been approved for an extension? That will suffice. We just want to make sure you're in good standing with the federal government.
We're in City of Decatur, but we are Georgia State licensed, and one of our counties is City of Atlanta and Fulton County.
So my question back to that business is, do you have a City of Atlanta business license? If your answer is yes, then you are eligible. If your answer is no, then I'm sorry, you're not eligible. But with that said, please check the other city that you are in. So it's my understanding that the City of Gwinnett has a program, DeKalb has a program. So other cities received CARES Act dollars and they may have programs. So please verify with other cities.
I had a very interesting, sorry, Matt, I hope you don't mind. I had a very interesting question here regarding tax returns. And so the question here reads, when you ask for the first 2 pages of tax returns, what is the name of the tax file? Each accountant place pages in different orders. Is there a specific name of the file, just to make sure I'm following the directions accurately? So this is a great question. Generally, we just need the first 2 pages of your tax form. And the other question that I've had is, if you upload an incorrect document and you submit that application, we will go into that, review the document, and if it's not what we need, we will task you. You'll receive an email from one of our customer service reps who will ask you for that right document. But I would just caution everyone, before you submit the application, please go through it and make sure that every document there is what you want to upload, because we do have to manually open those applications up again if you upload the wrong one.
Thanks for that, Nathan. Any that you're seeing out there that you think are especially important or worth reiterating, please feel free to jump in. I think we've got time for about 3 more. One thing, and I've seen this mentioned a couple of times, it says the term post-COVID, small business post-COVID. I think the emphasis there is post-COVID is broad. Can we clarify just what we mean by that term post-COVID?
So at the time we're living now is all post-COVID. The reality is no one is quite sure how long this is going to last. Are we going to be in this situation 1 more month? Is it 2 more months? Is it till the end of the year? We're not quite sure. That's why you'll see some of the vague, but really it's anything that helps you address what the future will look like. So again, look at CDC guidelines. What is CDC requiring you in your business to do to be able to operate safely? Any costs incurred to be able to implement CDC guidelines would be considered. So let's say your office requires you to put glass between your cubicles, that would be covered. So those are the things that we're thinking about. So maybe it's not post-COVID, but anything in the future that deals with COVID. So again, good sources, go to CDC guidelines. What are they requiring or recommending you to do as a business to keep your customers safe or your employees safe?
Great. Here's one. It says, does the purpose include marketing expenses to try and funnel customers to ordering online instead of visiting a restaurant? I think that speaks to pivoting.
Yep. I think as long as you could tell us what the expense is and what you're doing and how it ties, again, that's where we're relying a lot on your definition or your explanation there. But if you could tie it to, we've had to increase marketing expenses so that we can get to a new clientele that we hadn't touched before, because now we need to expand our base. I'm making some of this up. I'm making all that up. But if that's something where you're going, again, if you could tie it to the story of how this relates to COVID and you having to change and incur additional expenses. Now, if it's, I'm just marketing my business as you would always do, then that's not going to get covered. It has to be expenses incurred due to COVID. That's why, again, I'm highly emphasizing it really matters on how you tell us how this relates to COVID. So again, if it's a cost that you would have incurred anyways, that's not covered. If it's a cost you're incurring because now COVID has come on and is help making you adjust, then that would be covered.
Terrific. Thanks for that. Another one, if we have items that we plan to purchase next month, which I guess would be in September, but have after the application deadline passes, but have not bought yet, how would we include those in our application?
You need to estimate them. So I would, if I were you, is think about what do I need to purchase in the next 3 to 4 months to be able to address post-COVID. Assuming all of those issues, all of those items comply, then you would say, maybe I've purchased, I'm making this up, $5,000 worth, but I need to purchase an additional $25,000. My award request is $30,000. And then we'll ask you what you're going to spend it on. And then we would assuming you get selected, you get a pre-award that says you have been awarded up to $30,000. Then you at least know you've gotten the award. You could then go make the purchase, submit the receipts, and then get reimbursed. So if you have the receipts, it's more streamlined. If you don't, do not worry, but we will make sure it's reflected, because once you tell us, I will need 30, 40, whatever your number is, 1,000, we won't be able to go up. So you'll get an up to amount in your award.
Sorry, Matt, if I have one question here, if you don't mind, if I hop in. This was a really great question. Someone asked, what if I only need the technical part of the grant? That's such a great question. If you don't have any COVID related expenses at all, not even $1, you should write me specifically and I will respond to your chat here privately, and you can have my email address. I'd love to talk to you. We're glad to put you with any resource you might need. But this is a great example. Even if you've spent, $20, you should apply for the fund. If you need the technical part of it, you should consider applying for the Resurgence grant program, so you will have access to that as well.
Great, and I guess as a follow-up, just to make sure everybody was clear on what that part of the program entails, somebody had asked, could you explain technical assistance again? I don't know, perhaps they joined late, or if you could just kind of go over what that is relative to the other part of the Resurgence grant.
Yeah, so the way the technical assistance is, so the total business can get up to $50,000 in services or cash. And the way that's broken out is in two ways. You can get up to $40,000 to cover any of your expenses to prepare for post-COVID, or anything to get you to now work in the new environment. And again, rely on CDC guidelines as to what is needed. Then the $10,000 is available to businesses for technical assistance. And that the way we're structuring that is you get 4 Invest Atlanta bundles, and you could decide to put all of your bundles with one service provider, or you could do 4 different service providers. And the services providers include services like website and technology. Maybe you have to switch your website out to be able to address the new needs of COVID. Maybe you need to change your business plan. Maybe you need to be able to pivot to address COVID. Maybe you need to change some of your financial structures. Maybe you need legal advice into how to create a disclosure statement or liability, or whatever it is that you need. You as a business can choose what resource you would like to go to. And again, it does not require an out-of-pocket investment by the business. You just choose your provider, and we will pay the provider once the service has been provided to you.
Great. Interesting scenario here for a business. I hadn't seen this yet, so I'll go ahead and bring it up. It says, if the business used to conduct most business in Atlanta, but due to quarantine had to move to home-based business, which is in Gwinnett, is the business still eligible? The most recent business license is still through City of Atlanta with the Gwinnett home address.
So it appears to me that you meet all of the eligibility requirements. You have a City of Atlanta business license. You've done business. You've been in business since 2019. Then yes, you qualify. We would like you to come back into the City of Atlanta, though.
Another question here with respect to the technical assistance providers. Is the list of approved providers on your site?
We are going through final interviews. Not right now, but they will be by the time the technical assistance program kicks in. So yes, that will be up on our website.
Great. This questioner says, I'm sorry if this has been addressed, but am I able to bring on a 1099 subcontractor to help me pivot my business under the reimbursable grant, not technical support funds?
No, there has to be items that you're purchasing for a reimbursable grant. And I will double check back with my Department of Treasury experts and lawyers to verify that. So Matt, if you can flag that one. But it's my understanding that it needs to be for items that you need to purchase, not services.
Great. That one's been flagged. And it looks like we're getting close to 15 minutes over here. Let's take one more. And what I would say is that Nathan, myself, and the rest of the team will go through all of these questions, and we'll make sure that the FAQ document that was mentioned before, which is available on Invest Atlanta's website, reflects them. And then, of course, as we've said several times, you have the opportunity to reach out directly to Invest Atlanta to get assistance. This question says, if we are to get a grooming van because we cannot groom at clients' homes anymore, would we be able to apply for the grant before purchasing or leasing the vehicle? Could we apply and afterwards lease or purchase the vehicle?
Yep. You would get a pre-award. You would then go make the purchase and submit your receipt.
Terrific. Thanks for that, Eloisa. So many good questions tonight.
Special thanks to Michelle and Lexi who are operating us in the back end, but we'll again make sure to highlight and answer all the questions. If not, please go to our Q&A or come to another session. So with that, let me just close this out. And again, thank everybody for joining us. And please, we have another one of these on August 12th, and you can submit more of your questions on the different email addresses that we had. This PowerPoint presentation will be available on our website as well. So please feel free to access it. All right. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.